Yeah, you can just pull that over here. Hi, everybody. It's Rob Astorino. We're going to start in about 30 seconds. So think of some good questions you want to ask me, and we'll have some fun. We'll have a conference for probably about 45 minutes most, but you can stay on as long as you'd like, and I'll be right with you. So thanks for joining. I'm Rob Astorino. I appreciate you spending a moment with me, how long it is. We'll probably do this for about 45 minutes. If you can stay on that long, feel free. If not, jump off whenever you have to. And it's an opportunity really for you to ask me any question that you'd like. And to ask me a question, it's pretty simple. Just press 0 on your phone, and then you'll be in the queue to ask me a question, and I'll try to get to as many questions as I possibly can, as fast as I can. So, look, I'm running for governor because I very strongly believe that we are losing as a state, and we're losing pretty badly, by the way. You know, we've got the highest taxes in America. We've got the worst economic outlook. We've got the worst business climate, and certainly people in the Upper Hudson Valley and the Southern Tier and in Central New York are feeling it the most. We have, unfortunately, the worst state to retire in, and we have a governor right now who is under federal investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office because of the corruption scandal, the Moreland scandal. So there's so many bad things happening in New York right now, and it should be so much better than it is, and that's the frustrating part, because we can be better. And let me just tell you real quickly what I did in Westchester. I got elected in November of 2009, took office January 10, and we stopped the tax craziness in Westchester. My predecessor increased property taxes 17% in 5 years. He also increased spending 25% in those 5 years. We came in and we did just the opposite, which is really what we need to do in New York. We cut property taxes in Westchester more than any county in New York. In my 4 budgets so far, we have had no property tax increases and 1 tax cut. My new budget's coming out in about a week, and we'll have, actually a couple weeks, and we'll have no property tax increase again. The budget's smaller today than I walked in the door. And the nice thing is we work with the business community, and we've had 30,000 private sector jobs created in Westchester over the last 4 years and one of the lowest unemployment rates. That's what we have to do in New York. We've got to reduce spending so we live within our means. We've got to cut taxes. We're the highest tax state in America, and there is no reason why we can't get this economy going to actually get some good jobs. I mean, this is New York. You're living here because the same reason I am. I love it. But we're going in the wrong direction, and it's never going to end if we keep the same governor there and the same cast of characters. So it's why I'm running, and as I like to say, change begins by changing governors, and that's what we'll do. So I'd like to take your questions. Any question that you have, just tell me your name and where you're calling from, and that'll give us a chance to have a two-way conversation. So again, press 0 if you want to ask me a question. And let's see, we'll go with Stephen in Schoharie. Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Stephen Schoharie, yes.
How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good.
Great. What's your question?
Well, why are our taxes like going up like 100% through the whole area? We had a flood like 2 or 3 years ago, and it seems like they're pushing people to come in, and we're paying for them people to come in, and our taxes are going up, and they're getting to live here 4 or 5 years for free. It just don't seem right.
Well, really, for all intents and purposes, your property tax now is not a local tax, it's a state property tax. Because what's going on in Albany is they are just demanding more and more from your local governments, your schools, and they're taking more. It's like your county, Schoharie County, and I don't know what town you live in, but they're all becoming ATM machines for the state government. In my case, in Westchester County, our budget is 1.7 billion now, 1.8 when I walked in. But the money we collect from county property taxes, 80% of it goes right to Albany for some of their mandated programs, Medicaid, obviously the pension costs, and we have no say over it. And this governor has just increased more and more spending, higher taxes. He broke his promise. Now, of course, he's trying to bribe you with your money, by the way, if you didn't get your rebate check with probably his smiling face on it. But that's really what it is. And that's not tax relief. That's not changing economic policy or cutting taxes. That's just moving it around, and the problem persists. We really need to do something about what's going on in New York, because we've had 400,000 New Yorkers leave this state in the last 4 years. That's incredible. And there was an AARP study that came out, I don't know if you saw it, a couple weeks ago, but it basically said that of those that are 50 years and over in New York, 60% of those people surveyed said they're likely to leave New York. That's insane. And this state is upside down. We're on our knees economically, and this governor hasn't done anything. So I've had a whole plan. I hope, by the way, and I'll get a next question in a second. Press 0 if you want to ask me a question. I hope, by the way, you go to robastorino.com. We have our education plan where I'm absolutely opposed to Common Core. We have an ethics plan which begins with term limits and stripping pensions away from corrupt politicians who are found guilty. We have a jobs plan, and yes, it does begin with natural gas exploration in the southern tier and in those parts of New York that have it, and we'll move forward with that, which will create a lot of jobs, good-paying jobs, a lot of tax revenue for the state, which could lower taxes. It'll bring down our cost of energy and bring back manufacturing, a lot of good things, as 30 other states are doing. So let me ask you a quick question here, okay? And this is sort of a little poll. It's all anonymous, so vote any way you want to vote. If the election were held today, who would you support for governor? Who would you vote for? Me, Rob Astorino, press 1. 2, Andrew Cuomo, press 2. Or undecided, still not sure, you press 3. Okay, Astorino, that's me, 1. Andrew Cuomo, number 2. Or undecided, number 3. All right, let's see. Elise, you're from Troy. Hi, Elise, how are you?
Hi,
Elise?
I'm good. How you doing?
Or is it Alyssa? I'm sorry, Alyssa, right?
Yes, it's Alyssa. Not a problem.
Okay, how are you, Alyssa?
How you doing?
Good. What's your question?
Okay, one of my main questions, along with my family, is the term limits. I know you talked about it in a little bit when you went up to the Brunswick Sportsman Club.
Yeah.
What do you know, we really got to get a lot of the, downstate senators and representatives out of there that have been sitting in those chairs for, 50 years, and obviously those chairs had to be reupholstered after all those years. We got to get a lot of new people in, so.
Okay, good question. So here's what I would do, Alyssa, and I thank you for asking. I would, we instituted term limits in my first year as county executive. There never had been. We worked out a compromise with the Board of Legislators, and we instituted term limits. I think we need term limits statewide. I have called for that. I think 8 years is enough, 8 years for legislators and 8 years for statewide. That would be including the governor, lieutenant governor, comptroller, and attorney general. And I think that's a good way for people to get in, do what they want to do, and then either move up or move out. And the longer you're there, and this does not go for everybody, trust me, there's some really good people on both sides of the aisle that have been there a long time, they're experienced, and they're still very, very good. But I just think the system right now is so broken, it is so corrupt, it is so pay to play. You saw what's going on with the governor. He's under investigation for potential witness tampering, obstruction of justice, failure to report crimes. These are serious allegations, and we've got a governor who is literally under federal investigation. It's called the Moreland Commission scandal. So I think term limits are really important, and stripping pensions away, by the way, from anyone found guilty of corruption as a public official. So thank you so much, Alyssa. Alex, you're next. Alex, where are you from?
Yes, good evening. I have two questions, actually.
Where are you from, Alex?
Number one, Cairo, New York, Greene County.
All right, okay.
Okay, my first question is regarding, you must have heard it a million times, about the SAFE Act for sportsmen.
Yep.
That was rammed down our throat.
Yep.
And what will you do to repeal entire or partially? And that's number one, first question. And number two, I decided months ago after you announced your candidacy to vote for you. I would love to see you get, as your running mate, Judge Jeanine Pirro. If you could sway her over, I think it would bring in a lot of votes.
Well, Alex, I thank you very much. I have a running mate, and he's fantastic. Chris Moss, the sheriff of Chemung County, which, by the way, is Elmira, which is where Jeanine Pirro was originally from. But anyway, I have a lieutenant governor candidate. Chris Moss is the president of the New York State Sheriff's Association, and he is adamantly opposed, as I am, to the SAFE Act. We will repeal the SAFE Act, or we will defund it if the legislature fails to do that, but we will make sure it gets repealed. It did nothing, including the New York Times, by the way, wrote a story about 2 weeks ago, and they admitted that it really has done nothing. And common sense will tell you it will do nothing because it's all cosmetic. But it made legal, law-abiding gun owners into criminals overnight. And that's typical of what Cuomo does. It's all about a headline. It's not about good policy. It's all about politics. So we would repeal the SAFE Act, and we would concentrate on the mental health system, which is what I did in Westchester following Newtown, and it's having success. So I thank you very much for the question. All right, Carol. Carol, you were in the Catskills, right? Where?
Hello? Yeah, hi.
Hi, Carol.
Hi. I'm up in Greene County, which is the poorest county in New York State, as you know. And we're a conservative area around where I live. And my concern is for seniors. Yep. And your commercial keeps coming across the TV all the time about, well, they can eat soup. Well, that's kind of like turning me off a little bit because I am for the seniors and also for the SAFE Act for the guns because my husband is a licensed gun owner. Yep. And we're just tired of the high taxes up here. Actually, I just sold a house in Westchester because the taxes were so ridiculous. And I'm just wondering, where do you stand on these issues?
Okay, thank you. First of all, let me talk about the commercials that Cuomo is running. They are so false that even the New York Times wrote articles last week debunking his commercials as false. Now, the soup commercial you're referring to, that was part of a longer conversation, an interview I did several years ago. It was a joke. It was said in jest. If you saw the rest of the interview, it was a joke. The point I was making is we have, as you just mentioned, the highest taxes in the nation, and people are leaving. Seniors are leaving in droves. And unless we bring down taxes and get our expenses in order, people are going to leave, continue to leave in record numbers in this state. And that is what I was talking about. Cuomo also has on his commercial that we're going to put loaded guns in schools and give it away to kids like candy. I mean, that's so stupid. And the other thing, that we're going to cut Medicaid prescription drugs. I have never, ever said that in my life, but this is Cuomo, the dirtiest politician known to mankind, who his own spokesman once said that Andrew Cuomo will say anything or do anything to get elected. Well, he's obviously doing that in this race because he knows we can win. So I share your concerns with taxes. That's why I cut them in Westchester. And in 5 years now, it will be no tax increases under my administration and lower spending, and yet the services are still there. So I appreciate it very, very much. Thanks for asking. Let's go to Schoharie County. Michelle, how are you, Michelle?
Hi, I'm a teacher in the public school system here in Schoharie, and
Great.
I have
What do you
two
teach?
very young children. This year I'm teaching universal pre-K. We got a grant, so I'm teaching that.
Okay.
I'll save my pre-K questions for another time. But my question is regarding Common Core. I know you said you were completely against Common Core. I personally think there are some positives, but the way it was implemented was horrible. But my real concerns are about the high-stakes testing. I know you said you're anti-Common Core. That's great. But what about all this testing of all of our babies, our kindergartners? I mean, all they seem to do anymore in school is test. Do you have any way to help reform that so we become more than just, our children learning how to answer test questions and fill in bubbles?
Yeah, and Michelle, and teachers are becoming testing automatrons. And that's why there's a lot of reasons why I am absolutely opposed to Common Core. I'm running on 3 ballot lines, by the way, Republican, Conservative, and Stop Common Core. I'm a dad. In fact, today, I just came from it's hard to imagine, but my little one is 5 today. And so I just came from her birthday party, and after this I'm going home. And all 3 of our kids, we have an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and now a 5-year-old. They're all in public schools. I went to public schools. My wife is a special ed teacher. And I know what Common Core does because as a father, I'm sitting around the kitchen table doing homework with them. And I know how much time they spent last year, 6 weeks total, dealing with the ELA and the math tests. And as I've said, we need to get out of Common Core for a whole variety of reasons. But what I would do is go back to where the state was working on in 8, 9, and 10 called the lost standards. And this would elevate the standards in New York. It would put more decision-making and creativity back in the classroom with our teachers, our school boards, our principals, our superintendents, and, our parents, too. It would de-emphasize some of the testing. Because right now, look, I have a big concern about kids with individual education plans, with special education needs, even average students who struggle, those with reading disabilities or reading struggles. The math is now is very reading-based, and kids who could do math in the past are now failing or having a lot of trouble or disinterested. So there's a lot of issues with Common Core that I totally disagree with. But, Michelle, thank you for teaching, and thank you also for asking the question. Okay, let me ask you another question here. This is a poll, and if you have another question you'd like to ask me, I'm Rob Astorino. I thank you for being with me. Hit 0 to ask the question. So here's our other little poll question, totally anonymous. Besides high taxes in the economy, which of the following issues is most important to you and your family? Number 1, press 1 if it's Stop Common Core. Press 2 if it's growing jobs through natural gas exploration, drilling. 3, repeal the SAFE Act. 4, the corruption in state government. And 5, none of the above or something else. Okay? Stop Common Core is 1. Press 2 if it's natural gas drilling and growing jobs through that. 3, repeal the SAFE Act. 4, corruption in state government. And 5, none of the above or something else. Okay, I'm Rob Astorino. Thank you so much for being with me. We're going to go back to the questions. Hit 0 if you want to ask me a question. And we have Ted from Morris. Ted, how are you? Hello, Ted. Going once, going twice.
Hello.
There you go, Ted.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Yep.
My concern is, what's your thoughts on this SAFE Act?
On the SAFE Act, I am absolutely, as I said a little while ago, Sheriff Chris Moss, my running mate from Chemung County, we are absolutely opposed to the SAFE Act. We want to repeal the SAFE Act because it was a bad law to begin with, and it made legal gun owners into criminals overnight. So, and even the New York Times 2 weeks ago that has nothing. It will do nothing to make us any safer. So, I hope that answers your question. All right. Thank you very much. Let's go to Tom. Tom, where are you calling from? Hi, Tom. Hello, Tom. Tom in Central New York. All right, Tom. Sorry about that. Let's go to, I guess, let's pick somebody else here. Who do we want to go to? Press 0 if you want to ask me a question. Let us go to Middleburg. Joyce, how are you?
Okay. Hello.
Hi, Joyce. It's Rob. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for calling us tonight. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And being Republican chairperson, did get to meet you at Gobbler's Knob over in Cobleskill this fall, which was very nice. But one of the questions a lot of people have is, what is some of your previous job experience, and where have you lived most of your life? People just kind of wanted to know a little more about you personally. That's
great. Well, look, everyone, I ask everybody, by the way, listening tonight, please go to robastorino.com. My whole my life is there of what I've done, my professional career, my governmental experience as county executive in Westchester, and the issues. But to answer your question, I was born and raised in Westchester County. My career before I got into this as county executive was in radio and TV. I was hired by Disney in 2001 to start ESPN Radio in New York City. Had a great time doing that, working with Michael Kay, the voice of the Yankees, and just had a great time watching Derek Jeter, quite frankly, as a player and as a person. And then I went to Sirius XM Satellite Radio, where I hosted a show with Cardinal Egan, then Cardinal Dolan in the Archdiocese of New York. And that's been my life. My career is radio and TV, but I've also done some government stuff. I was a councilman in my town. I was on a school board, and, of course, as county executive. So that's my sort of personal professional. I'm married, and my wife and I have 3 kids, a boy who's 11 and 2 girls, 9 and 5. So I thank you for asking that question. All right, let's go to Jean. Jean, you got a question about fracking, huh?
Hi, this is Jeanette, and yes, I was wondering what your position is, and I think it's positive for drilling of natural gas. We live in the Southern Tier, Sydney, New York. We have lost several businesses to moving to part of the business is moving to Mexico. They continue to do it. And I'm just afraid that Sydney's going to be part of the Rust Belt, and I don't want it to be. If we had natural gas drilling, it would help the economy. It would give people in the area a cheaper way to heat their homes and their hot water. And, you know, the state runs their trucks and stuff on natural gas, but why can't the citizens?
All right, Gene, thank you for the question. So fracking, if you want to call it fracking, natural gas drilling, whatever you want to call it, I am absolutely in favor of it. We have 31 states in America with natural gas. 30 of them are safely drilling. The EPA agrees with it, says it can be done safely, and said that there's not one case of contaminated water from fracking. Have there been wells that have contaminated water? Yes, those were private wells. Private property where the wells were not constructed well, had nothing to do with fracking. And just to put anyone's nerves at ease in case you're not in favor of it, let me tell you something. We will set up the right protocols and safeguards working with the Health Department and the Department of Environmental Conservation. But in the first 90 days of next year, I want the rules and regulations to be written and ready, and so we can start bringing in business to this state, because that will transform upstate's economy. It will allow farmers to not have to sell their property as they're doing now to stay afloat because of the taxes. It'll give people an opportunity to make money on their private property and to bring companies in here that are going to provide good jobs. The DEC alone has said it would provide about 50,000 jobs in New York. And the upstate economy, by the way, if upstate New York were a state unto itself, it would rank dead last in America in recovery. Unfortunately, 10 of the worst 20 cities in America, as ranked by the U.S. Conference of Mayors, are right here in New York. That is with the worst economic outlook for the next decade. We can do so much better, and we should, and that's why natural gas is a big part of our jobs plan. That'll bring in a lot of revenue. It'll help lower taxes, it'll help lower energy costs, and as a result, bring back manufacturing, either associated with natural gas or fracking or not. But look at what's going on in Pennsylvania on the Southern Tier. It's they're enjoying the benefits of this. Ohio's doing well. So I agree we should continue, we should move forward with natural gas. Andrew Cuomo is politically frozen and doesn't want to do it. So thank you very, very much. Let's go to Kevin in Delaware County. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Hi there. I wanted to ask you about this Startup New York program.
Yes.
I can see where, this could be a good thing, but what about the businesses that are already here that are paying high taxes? Shouldn't they get a break on their taxes but not just the new businesses that come to New York?
Well, Kevin, that's a good question, and let me tell you about Startup New York. Startup New York, in my estimation, is exactly what's wrong with economic policy in New York, and here's why. First of all, you've had the governor who has spent $250 million in this advertising campaign, which is purely political. I mean, it's a thinly disguised campaign commercial, let's face it. Half of that money, half of that $250 million was spent within New York. So if it's meant to attract businesses from 49 other states, why would we be advertising solely in New York on local TV? Because it's political. Now, the problem with New York is that we have the highest taxes in America. We have the worst business climate, the most regulations. Government meddles in everything. It nickels and dimes us to death until we leave. It's got the worst economic outlook. So there's plenty of reasons why. In fact, yesterday, I could not believe he said this. Cuomo said yesterday that he wants federal help. Look it up. He wants federal help in protecting New York from low-tax states taking away our businesses. Now, how crazy is that? That's an admission by this governor that we can't compete anywhere because we've got the highest taxes. We don't need help from the feds. We need a new governor. We need somebody who understands the economy and how to create jobs, which is what I did. The problem with Startup New York, you have to be a one particular type of industry, high tech, locate only on a SUNY campus, and then if you meet all these qualifications, then maybe you get a tax break. But what's going to happen after that tax break is over? They're going to be walloped with taxes, and they're going to leave just like other companies are doing all over New York. And you're right. The business that's been established for a long time, suffering under the consequences of New York's taxes, they get nothing. In fact, they're going to get poached. You're going to have their employees go to the new company. So it's exactly what's wrong with New York and our policies here. Let's go back to a question. All right, I'm going to ask you a question. If the election were held today, would you support Rob Astorino? That's me. If so, press 1. Andrew Cuomo, if you're going to vote for Andrew Cuomo, press 2. Or if you're undecided right now, we're not sure, press 3. It's anonymous, so don't worry about it, but we're just kind of curious. All right, I'm Rob Astorino. I am running for governor. I'm the county executive. I hope you go to my website, robastorino.com. Go to Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. That's where you're going to get all of your info. If you are going to support us, I hope that you get a lawn sign, a bumper sticker. Feel free, please, to donate some money online, whether it's $25, $100, whatever you can afford. And that's how we're going to beat Andrew Cuomo. All right, let's go to Gary. How are you, Gary?
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I understand about CORE and how bad it is, but we in New York State already have a bad education system with a regency, state regency. This should be abolished.
The Board of Regents.
It is recognized by nobody outside of New York State.
Well, let me tell you, you're talking about the Board of Regents?
Correct.
Okay, so, Gary, thanks for asking the question. Let me tell you about the Board of Regents. I agree. And in my education plan on robastorino.com, I come out with something very bold. I would do away with the current Board of Regents system because you probably don't know this, but one guy, Shelley Silver, picks basically all the Board of Regents for the rest of the state. It's done in a joint session of the Senate and the Assembly. Obviously, there's many more Democrats than Republicans statewide in the Assembly and the Senate. And so Shelley Silver, for all intents and purposes, gets to pick whoever he wants. So they are responsible to no one other than Shelley Silver. What I would do is I would have direct elections for Board of Regents in the 13 judicial districts around New York State. And it would either be directly voting for somebody who's running, or You already have elected school board members. Let them, as your representatives, pick whoever the regent would be for whatever your regent district is. I think that is more of a direct way. I'd also have the governor directly appoint the education commissioner so there's accountability. Give the education commissioner a 4-year term, coterminous with the governor, so there'd be less politics and more job security for the education commissioner to do what he or she needed to do as far as education policy, and it would be confirmed by the Board of Regents. I think there's more accountability in that. Right now you have no accountability. Everyone points the finger somewhere else, and as a result, we spend the most on education as of any state, and we're in the middle of the pack as far as results. So, Gary, that's a great question. Thank you very much for asking that. Let's go to East Durham, and Ron. How are you, Ron?
Yeah, hi. Mr. Astorino?
Yes, sir. How are you?
All right. This is Ron from East Durham in Greene County.
Yep.
And I heard on the radio today that Governor Cuomo was belittling you for not wanting to meet him in a debate unless you had cameras present. Would you just let the folks know why you did that? I think you had a good reason. I'm just guessing, but I'd like to hear why you did that.
What a joke this is. I'll meet Governor Cuomo on whatever street you want in East Durham and debate him. I have accepted, first of all, I challenged him to 8 debates, 1 in each region. Of course, he rejected that. We got 5 proposals from legitimate news companies. One was WABC-TV in New York City with the Daily News, Univision, and the League of Women Voters. And that would go statewide. I accepted. In fact, I accepted all 5. At the last minute, we get a proposal out of the clear blue from the PBS station and the Buffalo News with the terms already set and all the candidates on TV at the debate. And Cuomo accepts right away. So it looks like an inside job. Call it what you want. But I accepted to do that. The next one, which came out of the clear blue that nobody had really heard of, was a radio-only joint interview for 1 hour at 10 in the morning in New York City. No cameras permitted. Now, this is not 1945. And the fact that Andrew Cuomo refuses to debate on TV so the whole state can see it in prime time should tell you everything you need to know about Cuomo. He doesn't want to debate because how is he going to defend himself? How is he going to ask the question, Governor, are you under investigation by federal prosecutors for the Moreland Commission scandal, the corruption? And the answer to that is yes, because the U.S. Attorney has said so. And what about your criminal defense team? Will they not let you speak? And then he's got to talk about the economy, which is the worst in the country. You got to talk about 400,000 people leaving this state. You got to talk about the highest taxes in America, the fact that seniors are leaving this state in record numbers. I go on and on and on, and it's indefensible. So he's playing games as he normally does. I will debate him anywhere so long as it's a legitimate debate. Andrew Cuomo doesn't get to pick every term and tell us what we're supposed to do because he's the governor. We should have negotiations between the campaigns and the media company that's going to host it. That's how it always gets done. So, Ron, thank you very much for asking the question. Let's go to Carolyn in Hudson. How are you, Carolyn?
Hi. I want to know what your position is concerning abortion with an emphasis on late-term abortion because Mario Cuomo feels that it's okay.
Well, I do not think it's okay. The Women's Equality Act, which is what Andrew Cuomo is running on, please notice something. Andrew Cuomo, all he's talking about now is abortion. Have you noticed that? Because he doesn't want to talk about anything else in this state because he loses. So he's taken a boogeyman issue like abortion, which is legal in New York. Let's face it, it's not going anywhere in New York. And it was legal 3 years before Roe v. Wade. But what they want to do now is so far out of the mainstream, so radical, that only the radicals could agree that it's the right thing to do. I think most people on the pro-choice or pro-life side would agree with this one that it is beyond acceptable to have third trimester abortions on demand up to birth and listen to this, performed in cases by non-doctors. that is ludicrous. But this is what the governor is pushing as a pro-woman thing. And by the way, who do you think is going to have an abortion, a risky late-term abortion, performed by a non-doctor? It's going to be the poor, someone without health care or access to it. And this is what he's pushing. It's disgusting. And by the way, I would never support it, and I will veto that if it ever comes to my desk. So I hope that answers your question, Carolyn. I'm Rob Astorino. I thank you so much for being with us. We got a couple more minutes. Please hit 0 if you want to ask me a question. Let us go to Kingston, the first capital of New York. Henry, how are you?
Henry, Bilodeau?
Yep.
What I wanted to say is that first, I agree with your policies and what you're trying to do. And I think people really don't distinguish the difference between a Cuomo Jr. and Cuomo Sr. And one is Cuomo Sr., you knew what he was, and he was up front with it. But with his son, he smiles in your face and stabs you in the back. He's not truthful with his statements. And the other thing I wanted to say was, how come every state that has a Republican governor, they're doing very good? And every state that has a Democrat are doing very bad and poorly.
Well, thanks for your question. Andrew Cuomo, and the reason why 40% of the Democratic primary voters voted against him was because they see him not standing for anything either. And the fact that he's corrupt and he's being investigated by the U.S. attorney for that corruption, the taxes, the economy is lousy. That's why a real good chunk of the Democratic primary voters voted against him. This governor is pure transactional. I don't think anyone understands or knows what he believes in. I don't think he believes in anything other than power and how to move ahead, because you see that in really everything and anything he does. I stand for something. You may not like it, but I'm going to tell you how I feel, and that's what happened here in Westchester in a Democratic county, and yet I got elected twice by 13-point margins, and we did what we said we were going to do. We cut county property taxes more than any county in New York. We have a lower budget today than when I walked in the door, a really good economy right now. So that's what we need to do in New York State. Let's go back to the phones, and Charlie from Walk Hill. How are you, Charlie?
Hey, good evening, Governor-elect. I hope you're well.
Thank you.
Just wanted to mention a couple of things. You know, the liberals like to tell us the world is flat when we're conceding our national economy to the emerging markets of the world. However, whenever they're in power, like El Duce Cuomo, they never seem to share that sentiment when it comes to taxation. I'm a salesman. My territory is mostly the Hudson Valley, and I've never seen anything like this in 35 years on the road. It's a disaster. 60% of my accounts that used to give me a healthy amount of business 25 years ago no longer exist. And the taxes here are 10 times what I see in places like Chattanooga, Tennessee, Virginia, emerging states with burgeoning economies, blossoming, beautiful infrastructure, and low cost of living, and their taxes average somewhere between $800 and $1,300 a year for a 3-bedroom home on a quarter to a half acre. We're here, it's 10 times that. All right?
Exactly. And look, here's the reason why.
Well, let me just make one more statement. We don't make more money than them anymore, appreciably. 30 years ago, we made 8 times more than someone in Georgia or Tennessee. They now have more disposable income by far than we do. And these politicians and these police and teachers unions don't want to hear about this. And I'll tell you, if this isn't addressed soon, I'm walking away from my house.
Well, you're not the only one. First of all, Charlie, let me tell you this. As I've been saying, New York we have got to turn this state around and start marching the other way. And by that I mean doing what we did in Westchester. Our budget today is smaller than it was when I walked in 4.5 years ago. We cut county property taxes for the first time in a long time and have not raised them at all in my 4 years, and a fifth coming in a couple weeks. And, yeah, I got in fights with, God knows who, what groups, and you take a pencil out of the budget and they scream and yell. But it's worth the fight because we are getting our you-know-what's handed to us by all the other states right now. We're dead last in America as a state. That's embarrassing. And we shouldn't put up with that. And this is a state that should be number one, because we were at one point. But you're right. Not only do people catch us, they surpassed us. They're laughing at us. And if we don't cut taxes in a meaningful way, and I proposed a cut in the income tax, which would be pretty dramatic, because right now, and I get said, well, why would you cut taxes? You know, we need that money. We need that money for what? We're already the highest taxed in America. We already have the biggest debt. We already have one of the biggest budgets. And what did it get us? It got us dead last in America. It got us bleeding our own citizens out of this state. 400,000 New Yorkers have left already. And where are they going? North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Texas, Georgia, all the states with no income tax or low income tax, with a booming economy, with a cost of living that is reasonable. You know, and everyone knows somebody who left, a neighbor or a family member. And I bet, I don't know how many people who are listening right now have thought about, I say living in New York is like a prison sentence. People count the days until they can get out. And that's what's going on, and it shouldn't be that way. So we need to make some dramatic steps, and it's worth the fight. Otherwise, our kids, my kids, your kids, they'll have a shot in hell in living in this state in 20 years. Lenny, how are you? Where are you calling from, Lenny?
I'm calling from Accord, New York. And
how old are you, Lenny?
11.
11? You're my age. So are you in 6th grade?
Actually, no, I'm 12. Sorry. I'm in 7th grade.
All right. So what's up with you, Len?
Well, I was wondering what your opinion is about the Common Core, because many teachers and students out there cannot stand the Common Core today.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's sort of ridiculous, because you have to do everything a certain way, and I cannot stand that.
Yep. Well, Lenny, thank you so much. Good luck in school. Your teachers, I'm sure, are great. But as most teachers I've talked to around the state, they're probably very frustrated because unlike in years past before Common Core, they were able to creatively do things in the classroom and they weren't stuck to a regiment that was spitted out of a computer for them because of Common Core. I am against Common Core. I want to get out of Common Core. I want to go back to New York standards, but raise the standards in New York, have a rigorous curriculum, less testing, and more creativity in the classroom and decision-making by people like your mom and dad and your teachers who know best. So thank you. Let's go to, Milton. Milton, where are you calling from?
Excuse me. I'm calling from upstate New York, Grand Gorge, Delaware County.
All right, sir. How are you?
Well, I want to ask a question, make a couple of points maybe first, but my question basically is, about drilling for natural gas.
Yes.
What I'm asking is, will we see any of that natural gas, or will it all go to New York City like our water does?
No, good question. I'm absolutely in favor of natural gas. We will absolutely protect the watershed property in the unlikely event that something would happen. But that natural gas...
You're missing my point.
Oh, no, I'm going to get to it. That natural gas is needed to bring back central New York, the upper Hudson Valley, the southern tier. It'll bring back manufacturing. It'll lower costs around the state. And so it's absolutely needed and will be distributed around the state. Now, we might need some infrastructure improvements to get the gas lines to where they need to be in Delaware County and, any other county around you, Greene County, and go on and on and on. But
Harry County.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the natural gas is for. Right now, just think about this. In New York, 35% of our energy consumption is by natural gas. 30%, an additional 30%, is from nuclear. Two industries that Andrew Cuomo wants to shut down. He wants nothing to do with natural gas drilling in New York, and he wants to close Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant. It makes no sense whatsoever. If we're going to grow an economy, put people back to work, and make it more affordable to put the lights on, then we need to drill for natural gas and keep it here in New York, or as part of the mix, obviously, to export it to other states instead of importing it from other states when we're walking on it right now. It makes no sense. Thank you so much for asking the question, Milton. Okay, we got time for about another couple of questions, and let's go to Peter in Stanfordville. Peter, how are you?
Hi, Counselor. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm well, sir. My question to you is, I'm going to start with a statement. Myself and many others I know, we know that we are taxed based on what the majority of incomes from like Rockland County, Westchester County, and the city, the incomes in the lower part of New York. And then there was an MTA tax implemented on many of us that never commute to New York. And that, to me, is just a stepping stone and allows the government the state government to start initiating other ways of taxing. Why do we pay this tax? And is there going to be an end to this MTA tax for those of us that don't take the trains to New York to earn the higher incomes? Shouldn't that be something that those that choose to work in New York or New York City pay themselves?
Well, this is, quite frankly, a pure money grab. It cost Westchester County in our budget over $1 million for this. We actually sued. We joined with other counties and we sued against this MTA tax on a whole host of reasons. First of all, we didn't even think they had the right to do it, what they did. We actually won in the lower courts and it was overturned. But the MTA tax, again, is exactly what is wrong with New York State. It is just another money grab. It is just nickel and diming people to death. It is hurting small businesses, and it's why people are just throwing in the towel on this state and saying, why should I live here? It doesn't make any sense to live in New York anymore. And aside from Manhattan and maybe some neighborhoods in Brooklyn, the rest of the state's doing poorly. The Hudson Valley and Long Island is kind of treading water, and upstate New York, as you know, is economically depressed in many ways. And it's not going to get better with the same cast of characters, and certainly not going to get better. It'll get worse with Andrew Cuomo 2.0, because he owes everything, if he gets a second term, to the deals he cut with Bill de Blasio and the radicals in New York City that want to increase taxes dramatically, increase spending, and make it even harder for businesses to do what they do best, and that's create jobs. So I'm going to take one more question. West Hurley we go, and that's Bill. How are you, Bill? What county is West Hurley in?
Hi, Mr. Astorino.
Yes, sir. What county?
In Ulster County.
Ulster, okay.
You spoke very eloquently about the natural gas and the need for additional natural gas, but what is your view on renewable energy, solar and wind power in New York State?
I'm totally in favor of it. I think it's part of the mix. You know, I've been to every county, by the way. I traveled to every county. Many counties I've been to many times. But I've seen all the windmills in the North Country, and you know, as you fly into Buffalo, and you just see them dotting the landscape. So I've seen them all, and I've also seen them, by the way, where they're just standing still. So the point is, I think wind and renewables are great. They should be part of the mix, but you cannot rely on them, nor can we grow an economy with just them. Natural gas, at the very least, could be a 50-year bridge to a clean fuel, and that's something that we need. With half the carbon emissions of coal and oil, it's abundant, so it'll bring down the costs. It'll help bring back manufacturing. Nuclear, the same thing. The plants in Oswego, the plants in Westchester, at Indian Point. So I definitely think we need the right mix, but to say we're going to phase out natural gas and nuclear in favor of wind and solar and hydro, it just can't be. Not in a state this size with an economy that needs to grow. But can they all be part of it? Absolutely. So I want to thank you, Bill. I want to thank everybody. Thank you so much. I want you to go to robastorino.com. Here's your homework assignment. It's not Common Core, by the way. Go to robastorino.com. Please look up my background, look up our education plan, look up our jobs plan, our tax plan, our ethics plan. And if you're so inclined, certainly I'd ask for your vote on Election Day. Talk to your neighbors as neighbors. Get a lawn sign, a bumper sticker, volunteer for us. And, yeah, if you can afford it tonight, go online and donate some money to our campaign, no matter how small or big it is. That's how we're going to beat Andrew Cuomo. And trust me, this is a winnable race. We can take Andrew Cuomo down because he doesn't deserve a second term. And the fact that he's under federal investigation for corruption tells you all you need to know where we are in New York, and we shouldn't stand for that. So thanks so much for giving me this time. Have a wonderful evening. And if you have any questions, you can email me and we'll get back to you, okay? Thanks so much. Have a great night.